Made pretty good progress with the axles and the servo in previous steps, and now I'm going to continue setting up the electronics. I'll be working with the ESCs. I'm going to go a little bit overboard on this project. Use a Sidewinder 3. I'm going to use 2 of them, one for each motor. May not be necessary, but that's what I'm doing on this project. So right now I'm going to get these out of the box, get the Traxxas connectors soldered on, the connector of my choice. Get these programmed and mounted.
Team Baxter.
So I get both of these ESCs out of the box first, of course. So we have the Sidewinder 3. If you're not familiar with it, it's just the ESC, no motor in this, and it comes with no connectors attached, so that's why I have to solder on my Traxxas connectors. These receiver leads will get combined with the Y connector. And then at the end of the Y connector, I remove the red wire to accommodate the BEC installation. It's a little jumping ahead, just a little bit, but that's the general plan. So, of course, the first thing I'm going to have to do is get these male Traxxas connectors soldered on. I've got the 2 ESCs prepped and mounted. They are attached with double-sided tape to the top battery mount. BEC is just sitting here right now. I've gone ahead and configured that as well while I was working with Castle Link. On the ESCs, I did brushed motor with reverse. I did a 75% drag brake and a 213% full-on crawler mode for the drag brake. I did 80% reverse power, and then I saved these settings and sent them to the ESC. And then with the second ESC, I just loaded those same settings and transferred those as well. The BEC I configured to an output voltage of 6.0 volts. So I got all that done, and I have done initial waterproofing by way of a little bit of silicone. This is my standard method with these BECs, and I didn't deviate from it this time. Now, after the silicone cures up a little bit, I'm going to dip the ends of this in Plasti Dip for added protection, and that is the extent of my waterproofing on this BEC. That will sit on this plate as well, along with the receiver. 3-channel waterproof receiver from Spectrum. But first things first, I need to get all the connections made up. I need to solder this BEC to a connector, the output connector that connects to the battery. That connector will attach to these 2 leads coming off of the ESC, not the power switches, but just the ESC leads. I'll run another connector that'll connect these leads, and then that will run to the BEC, and then that will run to the battery. A lot of wiring, a lot of soldering, but I'll get that all done, and that'll help clean all these wires and mess up. So I've got the connectors made. This one's for the battery. The battery attaches here. This goes to 2 ESCs, and this is a lead for a BEC that I soldered on. BEC has the other end soldered onto it. This gives me a quick disconnect for my BEC. That way I can easily switch BECs if something goes wrong without having to desolder and change it out. So BEC's prep, done a little bit more waterproofing, silicone under there, and then a Plasti Dip that I've allowed to dry adequately. Just 1 coat. This should be adequate. This is my normal procedure, unlike the different things I did with the servo. The last connector I needed to do was, this is for the ESC. This is just a simple Y connector, but what I've done is pulled the red wire for the ESC and the BEC. BEC requires that you pull the power lead from the ESC, so that's what's going on here. Pulled it out of that front and just folded it back and shrink wrapped it in the mound. So that's done. These connectors that I just did help get all this managed, and the BEC gets installed in there along with the receiver. So that's my next task, is to get all this in here nice and cleaned up. There's so much going on here, it's a little hard to get it cleaned up per se, so I got everything tucked away as best as possible. Everything's kind of secured and tied down. So I'm going to go over what we have going on real quick at this point. I had the battery up in there for test mounting. So I've got dual motors, of course, and those dual motors run up the upper arm and into the ESCs. The two servos, the wires also run up the upper arms and over to the ESCs. They are zip tied to the ESCs and zip tied to their cells so that they're kind of stable. Got that out of the way, and then we get up here to this head of just, there's so much going on here. Like I said, it's a little hard to get it maintained, so I got it tied down the best I can. So what I've got going on here is, of course, the two ESCs. I had to re-solder the connectors to make them flat so that they'd lay flat a little better. The receiver is right next to it, and a big part of the problem with the receiver is this lead. The waterproof receiver is the leads that come out of it. There's really no place to put them. They're a little awkward. Also, the BEC has an extremely long lead. I've got all these zip tied and tucked up under the tray just a little bit. You can see some of it peeking out here. And then I have this bunch of wire zip tied to itself. So there's a lot going on, but I've got it maintained just about the best I can. Here's a mini Dean's on the BEC for a quick disconnect, so I can change BECs when necessary. And the ESCs are plugged into this connector from the bottom, and then they run out to this lead, which will connect to the battery. I plan on running shorty packs, and they will go up under here, and I'll be building a battery tray for that in a future step. Do not have the two power switches installed yet. One of these will be rendered useless. I'll cover it up completely. The other one will be switchable, and I'll probably put it right under there somewhere so that I can reach under there with a finger and flick it on and off. I have tested this. It does work. Let me turn on my radio, and I'll just plug a battery in here so you can see. So this is a shorty pack. I will be trying to build the tray underneath, like I said, and it will slide in like so, fit under there somehow, and it connect. One power switch turns on both ESCs, so you don't have to worry about that. Flick one power switch, and it simultaneously arms both ESCs. So we'll try this again. You turn one switch on, fires up both ESCs, and this time when I pull the trigger it should work. Got them all moving in unison. You can see the hexes moving. Steering works, and I've got my dual steer set up. So that's the electronics. I'm going to go ahead and set up the steering racks while I'm working here. The front steering rods. It gets to a long bottom and a long top and not a short piece but a long one on this setup. I'll go ahead and set that up, and that'll be the end of the electronics, and then I'll move on to making a battery plate for this. So at the last second I completely scrapped the SR300WP. It was too big, these leads were getting in my way. So again, seems to be a pattern with this project. I'm trying something new. I'm going to go with this SRS4210. I got this with my DX4S, and I just had it sitting around. I used it in a couple projects, but it's a little bit overkill. But this is a 4-channel receiver, and what I've done is independent channels for both ESCs, independent channels for both servos. What this allows is my dual steering front. You see that horn moving there? Then I've got 4-wheel steering, crab steering, and then rear steering. Also, since I've changed the receiver, and thanks to my DX4S, which allows simple mixing, I was able to turn on motor on Axial independent control. So now I can flick the switch. This is turned just with the little selectors on the side of the DX4. So I've got my dual steering set to switch A, and now I've got the motor on Axial set to the second switch. And what that allows is, you see right now I have, this is front wheel drive. This is being the front of the vehicle. You can see just the front is moving. Then I'll switch up, and that gives me 4-wheel drive. This is standard mode. This is what I'm running normally. And then I can also turn off the front altogether and only have rear wheel drive. You can see just with a flick of the switch turns it, and with steering as well. So electronics switched out for the better. Another little bit of mess going on here, but it's actually a little bit cleaner than it was with the SR300WP. So I'm going to clean this up just a little bit and go ahead with the steering linkage, getting it mounted up, since I think I'm going to go ahead and leave this configuration the way it is.